Ready when you are. Wrong page.
How are you, John? I didn't even say hi.
Okay,
How's the summer?
all right. Am I on? Hello? Hello? I can't tell if it's on, but I don't know.
Test 1, 2.
I haven't even said it.
Hello? Oh, there we are. Okay. Good evening. Call to order the meeting of the Hamilton Wenham Regional School Committee on September 5th, 2024 at 7 p.m. We'll begin by inviting you to join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, first up on the agenda are citizens' comments. It does not look like we have anyone in the room who wants to make a comment. Do we have anyone on Zoom?
We do not.
Okay.
Nobody on Zoom.
Hello. All right. So seeing no comments, I will officially close citizens' comments at 7:01. We are flying along. Okay. Amy, would you please read a portion of the school committee protocols?
Yes. As elected members of the Hamilton Wenham Regional School Committee, we, including the superintendent, accept the high honor and trust that has been placed in us to ensure that the students of the district receive the best education possible. To that end, we hereby commit to the following in the conduct of our business. Number 2, the superintendent and the school committee represent the needs and interests of all students in the district and place the students' interests above all others in their decisions, while remaining within the limitations of a voter-approved budget.
Thank you. Next up, we have the consent agenda. Does anyone have any items that they would like to hold from the consent agenda?
No.
No.
Okay. I cannot remember now who's making our motions this evening.
Oh,
Who's our vice?
I can.
Is it you?
I can make a motion.
Um,
I move that we accept the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
Second by Jen Carr. All those in favor? And that is unanimous of the 5 members present, and the motion passes. All right, the next item is to appoint a school physician. I am going to just make a disclosure, and then I'm going to recuse myself. So the proposed school physician, who is our current school physician, Michael Yoon, and my husband are partners, physician partners together, and so I am going to, in the interest of full disclosure and to avoid the appearance of a conflict of interest, I am going to recuse myself, and I'm going to turn this motion over to Amy, and I'm actually going to leave the room. Be back.
Okay. So I think we need a motion.
The motion would be to appoint Michael Yoon, MD, as a school physician. Is that the motion?
District.
District physician. Okay, I move that we appoint Dr. Michael Yoon, MD, as the district physician.
Second.
Second by Jen. Is there any discussion?
I just want to note, it's just for 1 year.
Yeah.
We have to do it each year, just so people know.
Yes. Good reminder, yes, it's something we do every year. Jen?
Just an informational question. What is the role?
It's a really good question.
It's a great question. Because it's one of those things like, oh, I didn't know we had a physician on staff. But actually, the district physician is really a consulting basis. So the best example I can use, because it happened during my time, is like whooping cough. The lead nurse would call Dr. Yoon, say, okay, what are the protocols? What do we do? How to, this is what's happening. And then he kind of gives us direction and advice. Can also sign off on medical orders. So go back to COVID when we were doing COVID shots in the facility.
Testing.
The testing, in the facility, and COVID vaccines. He would be the person to sign off on that. So,
Thank you.
yeah.
And Am I correct in saying that it's a requirement, right, from the state?
Yeah,
of-
it is state law to have a medical consultant.
Awesome. Any other discussion?
No.
Okay, are we ready to vote?
Mhm.
All in favor? Okay, it's unanimous of the 1, 2, 3, 4 of us voting, and it passes. Thank you. Someone get Dana?
Dana.
That's a long walk. Okay. Next up on the new business is the vote on the the food service worker contract agreement. Eric?
Thank you. This was an assignment that was given to Mr. Leone and I back in the spring to meet with the food service workers who had requested to unionize. We met with them and built a brand-new contract from scratch, worked with the Ask Me group, who also represents our custodial staff, so it was actually fairly straightforward. Everybody kind of knew the ropes of how things should be set up. So this is the final agreement that was hashed out, and essentially it gives them a lot of things that were kind of not in writing, some of the protections that should be there, even things like conditions of employment, weather, what to do in weather, what do you do if it's lunchtime and X, Y, and Z happens, how do you file a grievance? So all those things now are put in the paper and memorialized. Total cost of this group contract for this year is about $27,000 for the whole school year.
Okay. So first, we need a motion to start us off.
I move that we accept, what's the verb?
Ratify.
Ratify. I move that we ratify the agreement as proposed. Keep it simple.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Amy. Does anyone have any questions? And is there further discussion?
This was, the negotiations committee worked on this?
So actually, we delegated Eric and Vinny to do the negotiations on our behalf.
Okay.
So they did the work.
Right, we did the custodians and the food service workers, same AFSCME group. One had a contract we just cleaned up, and another one we needed to build, the food service one we needed to build from scratch. So.
Yeah, it looks great. I haven't heard anything negative about it,
Yeah,
so.
no, and I do want to just add, it's a lot of work like that.
Yes.
To create a new contract is a lot of work, so
Yeah.
much appreciated. You guys got that done in a very timely manner. All right, any other questions, discussion? All right, looks like we are ready to vote. So all those in favor? And that is unanimous of the 5 members present, and the motion passes.
Congratulations, Susan.
You made it just in time. We have to get up
Excellent.
early.
All right, bye-bye.
Coming.
Next up, we have some information about the Hamilton Wenham Volunteer Fair. So the League of Women Voters, this is the second time that they've run a volunteer fair, and we participated in the last one. Amy and I actually sat at the last one and had a table there. As I know you all know, but if anyone else in the world is watching this, like, we are in fact volunteer board, and which is why the league asked us to participate as well as some other boards in town. I mean, it was a busy place last year, and it was a good opportunity to talk with members of the public about what we do, and it was also, I felt, I mean, this is just me personally, but I really felt like it was, you know, the people that are coming in our community to a volunteer fair are really interesting people who are looking to get involved and looking to get themselves really educated on a whole number of different topics, and so it was an interesting group. Just for full disclosure, they asked me if we wanted to participate, and I already said yes, but I need to bring it to you all and make sure we could certainly go ahead and say no if we don't want to participate. So I guess I'm looking for consensus about whether people want to, in general, want the committee to participate. Second of all, we're looking to see who would like to actually man the table, if you guys do want to do it. And then my third point is I do see this as an opportunity to provide accurate public education and information about our various things that are going on in the district, including the new school. So it's and I guess in the athletic field, just to provide clear, accurate information. So, I don't know if we need a motion there. I think maybe there's time just for questions first. Does anyone have any questions? And then we can think about, yep.
When is it?
Yes, it is on September 21st. It's a Saturday.
And it's during the day.
It's during the day. I don't
It's
know
10
that.
to 1, right?
Yep.
I'm just looking at your screen.
Last year it was in the evening, which.
Yes, it was during the week, I think, last year.
Like a random Wednesday so it's kind of nice. It's Saturday, and I think it's going to be outside this year.
Yeah.
Which is cool.
All right.
Any other?
Any other questions?
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
I think I could probably do it.
Yeah.
I mean, if we have interest in participating.
Yes. Well, like I
I'm
said,
sure
there's sort
I'll
of
have
two
a
things.
soccer
There's a
game, though.
general, are we wanting to participate? And then the
Yeah.
second is, who wants to actually go?
Yeah, I will for sure, like, have a soccer game, but I mean, I feel like I could come
I
later.
am available, but I would love it if other people would love to go
Yeah.
with me or instead of me.
I could do some of the time. I have to
Okay.
be somewhere at noon. So
It's a 10 to
10 to 1.
10 to 1.
Yeah. So if you want to split a shift, if that's
I think
that's okay with
if
you.
we have a game, it's I mean, who knows when the game
Should
is.
we just figure
I-
it out later, or?
Do you want to talk later? Because, yeah, I don't know when the soccer games are, but I could definitely
I
do
think
it.
as long as, if the committee agrees that we're
wanna do
comfortable
it.
with any member of the committee going, then we
It's
could
a whole
certainly
password situation. I can't-
schedule
it's- I
later.
can't even.
Offline, yeah.
Do you have thoughts on whether you're available?
I don't have anything on my schedule that day, so.
Okay, so that might work
It's
for
been
you
a
to be.
nightmare.
Okay, so that's good. So Trent is available that
Oh,
day.
great.
And so we've got some people. We do want to make sure we don't, we can't have a quorum. So
Oh, right.
it would be ideal to have at least two, and maybe it sounds like what would be nice is maybe we have some people coming in and out. That might be a great way to do it.
Do you want to just figure it out, the three
Yes,
of us?
scheduling is always okay, so we could, if we agree to that, then we could schedule after.
Okay. What do we need to bring, or do we need to just talk about that offline, or?
That's a good question, Eric. I'm hoping you might have some visuals that we could bring.
Of course.
What happened last year? Do we have a table?
Brand new ones that we have coming in, I think, on
Yeah.
They
Tuesday.
had a table marked for us.
They just have a table, and
Okay.
then, I think last year we brought an easel, and I think we put the goals up,
yeah.
and we had,
Okay, cool.
I can't remember, we
Yeah.
did have something that like some papers that we had, so, but this year I think we'll have probably more visuals about the projects, I think.
Yeah, we're getting new ones actually
Yeah.
next week for the elementary school project, and then we have the ones for the field project. We can also get new ones done between now and then that maybe have this year's goals, so
Yeah.
you're talking to those goals as well, so we can do that.
Okay, Julia, I think you were ready to make a motion? Just to
I don't know what the
just to
motion is.
participate.
Oh, I move that the school committee participates in the Hamilton One and Volunteer Fair.
Second.
Second by Amy Kumberger. Any further discussion? Okay, all those in favor? All right, and is unanimous of the 5 members present. And I will go ahead and send an email to just see, and I'll send it to the 2 members that we have that are missing as well, and then we can just come up with a schedule about who's going to be there.
Great.
Okay. Next, this is something that I put on the agenda because I wanted to, so when, at our most recent meeting, we only had 4 members of the committee here. There were just 4 of us here. And we had the food service worker agreement that was on the agenda. And at that meeting, when we went to go and vote, one of the members said, you know, I have a concern about whether this might need to have a 2/3 vote or not. And I did not know the answer, and I also didn't have a quick and easy way to determine whether that was, and when I reflected on it, it was okay, it was something we could wait on, and we brought it today just to be safe. The answer is we didn't need the 2/3, but I did think it was a really valid concern, and it's not something that so anyway, I'm just telling you that because what I'm bringing forward is what I wished that I had at that time was a cheat sheet, basically, of like, what are all the things that, now I have the cheat sheet of what the sort of Roberts rules are, what you need a 2/3 majority, but we have in our own policies some things that we have decided as a committee, as a district, that would require a, different level of majority. And so I guess what I'm asking is, does anyone on the policy, does the policy committee or any member of the policy committee, is the committee willing to task them with creating such a document, which would require a policy review? I can't imagine it wouldn't take, it would take some time, but not,
I think
not
all
an
of the
extra.
policy is new or newish,
Yes.
Yeah.
but we could definitely handle that, I think.
So I guess and so who's on, who's
The
policy?
three of
The three
us.
of you? So I guess what I'm looking for would be to see whether this committee would like to task policy with doing that work.
Got it.
Because it would require you guys to have a meeting and
Make something.
create something.
I think so. Do we need
Yeah, if you
a
would make
motion?
If you make a motion, then we can discuss.
I move that the school committee task the policy subcommittee with creating a cheat sheet policy review of vote requirements.
Second.
Second by Amy Kumberger. Is there further discussion?
No, I think that'd be really a great thing to have, actually.
Yeah, it was something that I, just sitting in this seat, I felt badly that I didn't know the answer, because it was a really legitimate question that, it was actually David Polito that asked, and it was a legitimate question, and I felt badly that I didn't know the answer, and I would have liked to have been able to just say, give me 30
Right, like,
seconds,
is it a
let me
number
pull this
above
out."
a certain amount? Is it number below a certain amount? Is it a contract? Is it this? Is it that?
Correct, exactly.
I would like to know that, too.
And it would have just been helpful. And when I went back to look at it myself, I was able to find things that are, again, like that follow Robert's rules, but I wasn't able to find, like, I was like, in order to find out about our own, for example, I believe that our policy is like, if we're going to extend past 10:30 PM, I actually think we have to have a 2/3
Yes.
majority. Well, we just created that, the committee. That's not something that the MASC is going to be able to pull up for
Right.
us, so.
Right.
Did we vote?
No.
No. Okay, all right. Anybody else have any questions? All right, all those in favor? That is 5 in favor, and the motion passes of the 5 members present. Okay. Okay, Eric, this is to you, new voting members of the Cutler Building Committee.
Thank you. The reason for this recommendation is that we had 2 people in the last year leave their positions who were both on the school building committee. So this is really a straight swap out. So the expectation from MSBA is that the building principal be on the committee. Our new building principal at the Cutler, Jennifer Hunt, would be added in, and then our new maintenance director of facility maintenance and operations, Curtis Whiteman, would be swapped out for Tom Geary, who was here last year. So these are just direct swap outs of positions that are expected to be on the committee.
So the motion is to accept the 2 new members?
So that was actually, that was actually going to be my question too, is that what you're looking for? Do we know whether you're looking for a motion to accept, or are you just informing us? Do we
No,
know?
because of what occurred earlier, it should be a motion to accept.
Okay.
The addition, the motion should probably be to accept the addition of Curtis Whiteman and Jennifer Hunt to the school building committee, effective immediately. They would go to the next meeting, basically.
Okay.
Okay, I move that the school committee vote to add Curtis Whiteman and Jennifer Hunt. Curtis Whiteman, the new director of maintenance, facilities and operations, and Jennifer Hunt, the new principal of Cutler Elementary School, to the Cutler School Building Committee as voting members.
Second.
Second by Jen Carr. All right, are there further questions or discussion?
Please.
Do we also have to vote to remove Tom Gary and the other principal?
No.
remove
That
themselves.
was a
That was my
question.
question.
Yeah, that was a question I asked the MSBA. Because they've left their positions, we have 20 days to notify them, the MSBA, of the change, and basically we send them the same exact roster with the new names. They review it and then say whether they accept it or not. So they're technically not on the committee until they're accepted by the MSBA, which is, in this case, it's just positions that were already there.
Trent?
Sure. I think I know the answer to the question, but I have to ask it. Are either of our 2 new members town residents?
Yes.
Okay, excellent. The reason that I ask is because when I go to the school building committee FAQs page, and it'll load if I give it a second. The 4th FAQ is how many people on the school building committee and how many of them reside in Hamilton Wenham and what criteria were used to select them. There's several answers to those questions, but the linked school building committee roster doesn't actually indicate who's a town resident.
Okay.
It lists, and it's a little confusing because for folks that work in town, it lists their work address.
Yeah.
So it might be perceived as if they are town residents. And so my recommendation would be to have a indication.
Yeah, we could do that.
And then my, further recommendation would be if the number is less than 50%, that you might consider whether or not it's meaningful to open up a call for community members.
Yeah. Which is actually part 2 of this after the vote. That was the question I was going to ask next. So.
Excellent. Well, I stepped on it. Sorry.
It's all right. No worries. No.
So those are just my comments.
Yeah. Okay.
All right, do you have anything else? We ready to vote? Okay. All those in favor? That is unanimous of the 5 members present, and the motion passes. Eric, did you have more to say about that?
I just want to get some clarification on how to proceed with, I have at least 1, if not 2 people who have already reached out and said, geez, I'd like to be on the committee. I have some fears of how big does the committee get, which is also makes it a little bit unwieldy, but as Trent had said, trying to find some more local people who live in Hamilton or Wenham to be part of the committee is a good idea. So is this a good way for me to bring people forward as a recommendation, or would it be something where community members request of the committee to be part of the building committee?
I have a question.
Yeah.
What does MSBA recommend or require?
They leave it up to us.
Okay.
Yep. Yep.
I've been involved in projects where you have like a design by committee makes things hard. So I just think keeping it manageable in size is important.
Yeah.
But-
The expectation for knowledge is a big deal for the MSBA. Like, they need to be in the trades. They need to have an understanding of, like one of the first people that comes to mind is she's an architect, a parent who's an architect. So super helpful to have that knowledge to know if things are, really doing and happening the way that that our architects may be saying they are. So, so they really do expect people to submit a resume with, and that's how we did it the first time. Submit your resume, show us what you have, but for the skill set in design or engineering or architecture. So there are some parameters. It's just that the actual process is left to the committee to determine. So that's why I want to clarify it. So if you would rather have people apply directly to the committee or put something out from the committee to say we have 3 openings and
From this committee or the school building
from the
committee?
school committee.
Are there gaps
Yeah, that was
currently?
going to be my question.
Because if there
if there,
aren't gaps, then I think we would not probably open it. But if there are, like Trent was saying, gaps maybe from people living in a certain community, or if there are gaps in expertise that we might need, then we might look at it. But I don't know. If there aren't gaps, I don't know if I would open it up
I think
personally.
Trent has the point that we talked about last time this was on the table, trying to make sure that we have enough residents on there making this decision about, $150 million essentially. So
Yeah.
I think that in itself is a reason to say, okay, let's get some more people.
so,
And you could set that parameter, 50% have to be people who live in town.
but I guess to Julia's question, I guess I don't know right now, are there, in other words, these positions that we just voted on today are specific positions, like whoever is in that position should be on this.
Yeah, whoever's
board.
the
Correct.
Should be on the building
principal,
committee,
whoever's the
exactly.
facilities director.
Which is a little bit different than what we're talking about. So are there gaps? I guess my question is, are there gaps because people who have left the committee? Are there
I
gaps?
think that the idea of a gap is actually a misreading of the MSBA statute.
No, I understand that, like, there are certain positions like these that are required or
Yeah.
whatever. But then we created a committee was created. And I guess you're correct, that's not the right way to put it. But since the inception, are there spaces that people have left that are now you're looking to fill?
Yep.
Is that, rather than expanding the size of the committee from
Right.
inception? That's what I'm,
Right. And one of the examples, we had a contract
no, I think that
attorney
makes
who
good sense.
left.
right.
So we had a contract attorney, which was actually really good to have, but that person left the committee, so that, that position was never filled.
I guess maybe I'm saying the same thing that Julia was saying, is I'm not really looking to make a bigger committee than there was initially.
But we need
if through
to honor,
attrition or
yeah, what
whatever, things have left and we now feel like there are things that are missing or that could be filled and filled as much as possible with residents,
Yeah.
that seems like a generally good.
The only other question I would have is, there are 2 towns. Is there a desire to create some kind of equity of voting membership in terms of, like, would that be part of the criteria? If we had, 5 residents from one town and 4 from the other, and 2 applying for the same position, would we give it to the one that had less representation? And that could just be an internal, vetting process, but something that I think that town representation is really important here.
For me, I would leave it up to the committee and Eric's recommendation, because I just feel like I look to that committee to really, to really understand what's going on and who they're compromised. I don't know where everyone lives on that committee. Personally, I don't.
Right. I mean, I think it's a good, I certainly think it's a good, what you just described to me seems like the ideal.
Yeah.
Like, if that were the scenario, I'd be so happy that we had more than one person vying for the position, and they're like, and then I think that is the right. In reality, I suspect we may be fortunate if we get someone in the positions. But yes, I think that, for me, that is the ideal, that we would have some balance between the 2 towns, some representation from both towns. I mean, I do think that is the ideal. I suspect, Eric, you can speak to that, but I suspect it's difficult to get
Yeah, because you're looking for such
Right.
poignant
Yeah.
expertise, like you're really looking for architects, engineers, design people, contract experts, you know, just people that can help with the complexities, if you will, of.
Yeah. So what would it look like? I mean, Julia kind of just said, like, that, and I don't want to put words in your mouth,
Yeah.
Julia, but it sounded like Julia was saying she'd be looking for a recommendation to, like, that looked similar to what you sent us just now. Would that, obviously, this is a very different situation because these two people were just hired and that's who they fill those roles.
Yeah.
But would that be the kind of thing it would go to the building committee first and then we would get a recommendation, or it would just run through you, or how would it happen?
One way we could do it is to use my weekly and some of the town, limited town resources for communicating it out, say we're looking to add some people to the committee, these are the parameters we're looking for, submit, you know, a letter of interest and your resume, and then I would probably connect with the people, talk with them about the commitment. It is a really sizable commitment, and some people back out once they realize that we're meeting once, sometimes twice a month. And then do the same thing, bring the recommendation here to say, okay, I have a recommendation of these 3 people, or 1 person, or 2 people to add to the building committee, and then you'd vote or not. That would be the more simple way to do it. The more complex way is to run it through the committee and have people applying to the committee, and then somebody on the committee is doing the kind of vetting, if you will.
It's an important question. I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
So I think that, does everyone see that, I mean, there's 2 sort of different routes there. One is a
Yeah.
recommendation and one is us.
In looking back at the original document, it looks like there were originally 20 slots on the committee. And we're now at 17. So that would seem to suggest that if we're going to use that as the benchmark, which I think is good sense, only problem with that is that it's, no, I don't see a problem with it. No. I retract the statement.
There is no problem.
No problem.
Yeah.
Yeah, you could set a target to keep it at 20.
Yeah.
You could say, all right, you know, no more than 20, or you could say 25, but when you get up that big, it becomes a little bit
Oh,
under.
yeah, that's
Yeah, I guess-
huge, that's a huge.
I mean, I don't know that I mean, we can, but it seems like the discussion didn't seem to me, and I speak up, there didn't appear to be appetite to make the committee larger. It just appeared to make
Yeah.
it. Okay, so I think we can still discuss, but Julia, I think ideally you'd make a motion one way or the other about one of the 2 kind of things that Eric is proposing, and we could discuss.
I'm not sure specifically what he's proposing. Do I need a
So,
number
Well, it
for how
sounded
many?
like, it sounded like there were kind of 2 proposed options. One is that school building committee members will be recommended by the superintendent to this committee,
Okay.
approved,
Oh,
or
okay.
candidates for school building committee will apply to the school committee.
So it's 2 motions?
No.
One motion.
Typically, since we make a motion, we
Okay,
affirm.
this is the motion that I like,
would pick-
and you can decide whether or not you like it. I move that the school committee task the superintendent with vetting and recommending members to the school committee as a whole for the Cutler Building Committee.
Second.
Does that
All
make
right,
sense?
second by Jen Carr. Okay. So, welcome. So we are discussing the way that we are going to, moving forward, if new members of the building committee need to be appointed. Okay, so the motion on the table is that the procedure would look very similar to the way it did this evening, which is superintendent would provide a memo or whatever information that we had and provide a recommendation. All right, is there questions, discussion?
My strong recommendation is that 50% plus one of the committee should be made up by town residents.
So would that, I'm wondering if that just, in terms of this motion, would that be that one, that's your information for the superintendent, that's your recommendation, but secondly, would it be part of the information you'd like included is their place of residence?
Well, it's, I don't think that their address should be listed here,
No, but their
right?
town of residence.
Town of residence, I think, would be really important. And then beyond that, right now, I just don't know. I don't know what the numbers are. So it's difficult for me to, say, like, would that involve making the committee larger than 17 people or not?
Okay.
Or is it already there? That's just my recommendation, and I think that we don't have that information right now. So it could be something that is addressed when we do have that information.
And I don't think that the motion that Julia made really speaks at all to the number of people on the committee. It really
Yeah.
just speaks about the procedure. So it could be that you could ask the superintendent, let us know what the percentage currently is of people that are, so that we have that information next time.
Yeah, because I think that if it's 10%, then that's not going to be a achievable goal without making gargantuan changes. If it's 60%, then it's achieved, right? And so I think that that's additional information would be needed before I would consider making a motion to that effect. But I think that it's, as a guiding principle, my recommendation that I would make for what the school building committee would bring as their recommendation.
Would they need to be voting members or non-voting members? Because we're probably at that threshold if you include everybody, right? Because we have a couple members of the FinCom, right, who are residents, a couple members of the different town boards, right? But the FinCom members are non-voting members, right? I'm a town resident. So when you get into all of that, plus the, excuse me, couple of other just local that aren't elected officials that are made up on the board, I'll bet we're probably pretty close to that 50% threshold, if not over it. Anyway, that gray area would be those two non-voting members or one or two non-voting members.
Yeah, my just personal feeling is that you would want the majority of people who are making the decision, and I would define that as voting members.
Yeah.
To be town residents. Not because other folks can't make as good of a decision, but because I think that it creates the engagement with such a large process within the community that is needed.
Yeah, I'm just trying to think of now, what the room.
There's 8 of 8.
I was going to say, Eric's over here
With the
calculating.
2 new members we just voted on, that puts that at 17, 'cause I'm on the list twice. And there are 8 out of that whole group that are townspeople. So you're looking at 8 versus 9.
Yeah.
So if you add 2 people, you're
So
at your
So what I'm
50% plus
so
1.
it sounds like if we were to achieve in those 3 potential spaces, if we were to achieve town members,
Just need 2.
then that would be.
Yeah, you'd only
we'd
need
get
2.
over that 50% threshold.
That sounds very achievable.
Yeah, I mean, you just two slots, and that would put the committee at, I think, 19 total.
Okay.
But I still like the process.
Yeah, well, so, and just to be clear, this is actually a very,
It's the
this is
voting
a
of the
very good
process.
conversation, but we're actually a little bit outside
I agree with all of it, but
the
I-
four corners of the motion, I
yeah.
think, here, which is okay, I think, but to bring it back, that clearly the motion really was only about that, what the process is for.
And not who they are.
Right, exactly, and not how many there were either. Does anyone have any questions or discussion about the process that was offered in the motion? Okay. So the motion is that if the motion were to pass, superintendent would bring us a memo with recommended new members when he has an opportunity to fill those spots, and we would vote to approve. Okay. Any other questions? We're ready to vote? Yep, go ahead.
Just saying, can we incorporate Trent's as a friendly amendment to that?
To say what?
With an eye towards having a 50% plus 1 town members, town residents.
Trent, how do you feel about adding that as a friendly amendment?
I'd like to make a friendly amendment.
I was just throwing the suggestion.
That's a good idea.
So what was the original motion?
The original motion was a bunch of like word salad, but it was really, I move that the school committee task the superintendent with vetting and recommending, bringing to the full school committee recommendations for any new members for the Cutler Building Committee. Because it's called the Cutler Building Committee on the agenda, so I'm just going to call it that.
You don't need to repeat all that. You
No.
can just make,
Okay.
you can just add yours on.
So my friendly amendment is that the school building committee endeavors to achieve a 50% plus one majority of town residents on of voting members on the school building committee.
Second?
Well, no, it's
Can
your
I second
amendment,
it?
so if you like that, you can just say.
Yes.
Okay, so is everyone clear on what we're voting on?
Yes, but can we discuss the friendly
Yes,
amendment a little bit?
discuss it, yep.
I just want to make sure that if for whatever reason, if we don't get a volunteer that creates those numbers that we're not going to say like, stop the presses. You know what I mean?
I felt like Trent did a really good job using the word endeavors.
Fabulous, right?
To try,
Endeavors.
yeah.
Yeah, exactly, so I
Okay.
think that was really important, because yes, if it turns out
That no one volunteers
there's no
or.
one that volunteers.
What you're saying, we don't want to be handcuffed. Or,
Right.
Yeah.
we
Exactly.
don't get it, because it's kind of not up to us if we don't get.
But we still have in other words, we still get to approve so that this committee could still say,
Right.
you know, but,
Yeah.
yeah. Jen?
Amy covered my concern.
All right, any further questions or discussion? Looks like we're ready to vote. Okay, all those in favor? And that is unanimous of the 6 members present, and the motion passes. Eric, do you feel like you have what you need from us
Perfect,
on
yeah,
that?
excellent,
Okay.
thank you. Yeah.
Okay,
Knock myself off here. Switcheroo.
next up, we have Vinnie.
I feel like we should have a walk-up song for him.
Oh, I know.
That Vinnie Leone's music.
You were all waiting to see the screensaver.
Oh, I know.
Is it up
Is it still the wedding picture, or is
Oh,
it
Is
babies?
it the wedding picture? What it's
I
gonna be?
think it's still Lorenzo.
Now Lorenzo would be mad if he changed it.
Yes, he'd be so mad.
He's watching.
You mean it's a new baby?
So what's the name of the new baby? I think I missed seeing it.
Francesca.
Francesca.
Oh,
that's
my
cute.
goodness.
Okay.
It's coming.
Oh, okay.
Oh, we only saw him for a half second.
So
Yeah,
cute.
hold on, I can get him back. Maybe not, I don't know.
Lorenzo.
Well, it's like these again.
Maybe after he'll pop back up. Well, thank you guys for joining us tonight. Okay, nothing's working, hold on. So tonight we are here to review our year-end financials for FY '24 as of June 30th, 2024, and then to vote on the final year-end budget transfer request. But before we get into that, I just want to remind everyone what we are here for, not only for the children today, but of tomorrow. This is Francesca Ann Marie, born on August 11th.
She's a Leo like me.
Yeah, 6 pounds. This is her brother feeding her. It didn't work out as good as that picture looks. That lasted about 2 seconds, but I was able to get one quick picture in there, and then he kind of pushed her off of her. So. Yeah, she's doing good. Okay, so to get into more of the boring stuff, I guess. So this fiscal year pretty much ended where I try to aim to end the fiscal year. For those of you who have listened to previous budget presentations I've made, I really try to aim to end the year between 2 and 3%. If you look where we ended FY24, we were around $1.1 million, which is roughly 2.77%, so kind of on that higher end of where I like to end, but still approximately in the middle. This is the normal chart everyone sees, broken down by school or site location. Overall, of that $1.1 million, we did have approximately $760,000 left over in payroll and $382,000 left over in non-payroll items. This is the same chart, just in DESI category, which regional school districts are required to vote in their budget. Just one item to point out, the only DESI category that we ended a year in a deficit was our operations and maintenance, where we ended the year with approximately $357,000 in a deficit. So like most of my presentations, when you go through it, I've broken out each school by DESI category, and like all of them, I am very detailed in that breakout. There are literally a $100 item that I might have listed. We might have had one employee at one school that worked 3 more hours. They're included in that breakout. I'm not going to go into every line item like I usually do. In the exhibit tonight, there is a summary, and it is also within the presentation. So I'm not going to go through line by line. I'm really just going to focus on the 3 highs, the 3 lows, and then kind of hone in on our operations and maintenance, just to talk a little bit about why that ended the year in a deficit. But of course, if there's any questions throughout any of the other stuff, please don't hesitate to kind of stop and ask me. But again, I'm really just going to focus on the operations and maintenance throughout the bulk of the verbal presentation. So for the 3 highs and lows, like most budget cycles, the biggest item was our vacancies. This really is year over year our biggest item. It's not as big as our prior years. I believe it was either FY22 or FY23. We had a little bit less than $1 million left over in vacancies. This year it is much less, but still a good amount of money at $454,000. Now this is district-wide and across all positions. It's not broken down by DESI category. This is just everyone. It includes administration, crossing guards, teachers. Everyone's lumped into that one category. Excuse me. The next one is our tuitions. This includes both school choice out and out of district, so that's students that are attending other public schools in Massachusetts or other private special education out of district placements. That came in at roughly $357,000. The next biggest item is our payroll taxes and insurance. For FY24, I was able to negotiate better insurance rates. As a result, we had a residual balance of approximately $180,000. On the opposite side, though, we did have a few bigger items this year. Our new ESP contract was initiated in FY24. This did cost us an additional $136,000. As you know, FY24 was the first year of the union contract, so when we were creating our FY24 budget, we did not know this and we couldn't anticipate how much that was going to cost. Ultimately, it did cost us an additional $136,000. In addition, we did, towards the second half of the fiscal year, really try to help out our custodians and maintenance department with the departure of our maintenance and facilities director at the time, we really tried to focus and give them the tools and resources they needed to complete their job. So I met with a lot of the custodians in the maintenance and really went through their supply closets and their equipment and tried to replace a lot of their aging equipment. We got every building new swing machines, which is what they use to strip their floor. We also replaced a lot of their floor burnishers and other equipment. Some of this equipment, I am not joking, was older than me. It was older than 40 years old. It even had dates on it, predating the 70s. So a lot of this stuff has really been around for too long. So we really worked hard to try to give them the equipment they needed so they can better clean the buildings. In addition, on the maintenance front, we also came over a little over on a lot of our contracted services, and we tried to complete some additional projects that we didn't anticipate and we didn't budget for. But because of some of these residual balances in other places, we decided to tackle some of these projects while we had the funding. And again, that's what I'm really going to talk about when I go through each of the school's slides, so I'll hit on that again in a minute. Last but not least is our budget offsets. This includes everything but circuit breaker and transportation because those are handled a little bit differently. But ending the year, we were in a deficit of around $392,000. The bulk of this came from our school choice in and our IDEA grant coming in a little bit less than what we anticipated. So you guys are familiar with this setup. This is really where I break out each school by location. Again, I'm only gonna focus on the maintenance DESI category, but please stop me at any point if you have a question about something else on the slide. But for the Bucher Elementary School, honing in on maintenance and operations, we did end the year in a deficit of about $55,000. During the 24 budget cycle, we identified the need for a new PA system in this school. Me, along with some of the leadership team, determined that at the time, it would cost us approximately $35,000. To be completely honest, we were so far off. When I finally met with the company to come in here, the quote I received was almost $200,000. So we put that on hold. You will most likely see that in a future capital request, as that is a much bigger ticket item. So that balance is still sitting there in that account as we ended the year last year. To offset some of that stuff, though, we did do additional tile abatement in this school. We emptied 3 classrooms, ripped up all of the tile, and then replaced it with new tile over the summer. We had a pretty substantial water leak under the front of the building. We had to bore out the side of the foundation. A crew came in and actually crawled into the hole and shovel by shovel dug out the dirt under the foundation until we found the leak. They fixed the leak, and then everything had to be put back together, so it was a substantial project for us to get that fixed. This school is the only school in the district that doesn't have a slop sink, so we installed installed a slop sink for the custodian. We also replaced all the playground mulch out back and did preventative maintenance on the boilers. And last but not least, we repainted the fire lanes and crosswalks and parking spaces across the building. Moving on to Cutler, the biggest thing in terms of the operation and maintenance that we did not anticipate was the gym floor refurnishing. Now, for those of you who might have went into Cutler, their gym floor was in really bad condition. We had not called in a contractor to redo that floor in a long time. Because of that, many years ago, the custodians took it upon themselves to put a coat of wax over the wood floor. This is wax you would normally use for a tile floor. So after a couple years, the problem with that is it comes up in sheets when it starts to be removed. So if you have a student in gym running and they stop quickly, sometimes a chunk of wax will come up when they stop. So we really tried to fix that problem this year, and we had a company come in and strip down all of the old wax on the floor and actually put down wood finish instead of tile finish. Moving on to the Winthrop School, we honestly didn't focus a ton in maintenance and operations at the Winthrop School. We still did do some preventative maintenance for the boilers. We did repaint the sidewalks and the fire safety lines there. And we did add playground mulch to the left side of the building and the playground apparatuses in the back of the building. For the Miles River Middle School, for operations and maintenance, we did do one big project, but per DESI regulations, because it was so much money, it actually gets recorded somewhere else, which I'll get to in a moment. But in terms of at the Miles River Middle School, again, we repainted all the safety lines. We put a good amount of money into the roof to patch up some holes. We also did boiler and compressor preventative maintenance, and we had an HVAC coil crash on us that had to get replaced in one of the rooftop units. For the high school, it really was a lot of the same as the Miles River Middle School. The safety lines, roof work, both boiler and compressor preventative maintenance, and also coils were replaced in 2 rooftop units at the high school. We really went around to all 5 schools and did a lot of boiler preventative maintenance. This was in anticipation of the winter coming up to try to help us kind of avoid any issues that we normally face year over year, because we don't do a ton of preventative maintenance within our boilers, but we really tried to do that over this summer to kind of help us out next school year because we had that residual balance. Again, stop me if you have any questions on this stuff. I am just forwarding just to the maintenance category again. So this is our district-wide maintenance category. So each school has a maintenance category, and then we have a district-wide maintenance category. The district-wide ended in a deficit of about $78,000. We did have a maintenance technician vacancy, which saved us roughly $23,000, but savings is a little of a technical word because most of those services were probably contracted out, but in terms of payroll savings, we did have $23,000 left over because of that vacancy. This is where that other middle school project I talked about, if you pull into the front of the middle school and you're looking directly at the main entrance, all the windows to the left, there's about 120 of them. We replaced not all of them, sorry. We replaced exactly 100 of the windows. These were original windows that were put into the school in the 1990s. A lot of the gas barrier broke on the glass, the gas leaked out, the windows fogged up, and we lost a lot of our R value. So most of the windows around the entire school need to be replaced. This is a huge project, so we just tried to knock off a chunk of it and got almost the entirety of the front of the school replaced. This does not account for the entire wall of glass in the cafeteria. If you're looking at the buildings, it's just the ones to the left. In addition, over last school year, we had 2 windows blow out in the admin building. So it wasn't even that big of a windstorm, but the wind blew out 2 of the old windows in the admin building. These aren't original windows to the admin building, because that building was built in the 1800s. But if I had to take a guess, those windows were probably at least 60 years old. They were single pane wooden windows. We had all of those replaced because it was definitely becoming a safety issue. You could hear them moving in the wind, and you could really feel the cold air come through in the wintertime. Some of the windows literally fell on the handicap's entryway. So we really went through and tried to we did replace all of them on the 2nd floor, so at this point there are no more old single pane wooden windows in the admin building. They actually might be in the basement. The little short windows still might be wood. I'd have to take a peek, but the rest of them have been replaced. In addition, if anyone parked over in the Bucher parking lot recently, we did have it completely ripped up and repaved. If you drove over it last winter, You would have noticed it's a complete ice rink from all the potholes collecting the water. It was, again, becoming a safety issue. That parking lot probably hasn't been redone in over 30 years, so we had it completely ripped up and repaved. So it should last us probably another good 30 or 40 years, hopefully. That was probably one of the most exciting projects that I did over the last half of the school year. But those are all kind of the major maintenance projects that we kind of all did in the last half of the year. Both Eric, myself, and we called in a little help from a retired maintenance director, kind of took on a lot of these projects after our facilities and maintenance director was no longer here after February of last year. Okay, so that kind of does it for the maintenance projects that I focused on. Just to kind of bring it all back, this is that same DESI category again. Just reminding you, I'm about to go over the final year-end transfer needed to bail out the operations and maintenance stack of roughly $357,000. Excuse me. This is that summary I was talking about. These are all major items, either plus or minus $10,000. I really went through and tried to categorize all of those slides at the beginning of the presentation to kind of put them all into buckets so you could see really what the effect was on our budget overall. Looking at this, I hope it says to you that these budgets really are unpredictable. Anything can happen in the 18 months prior to the year actually ending. Because if you think about it, we start creating this budget in October, and it covers us till not the next June, but the June after that. It's almost 18 to 22 months after you actually create the budget. So it's very difficult to predict what's gonna happen, 20 months from now. So a lot of these things are moving throughout the year and can have really big effects on our budget from one year to the next. I know there's a better, more clearer copy in your exhibit, but I just wanted to point it out. So in terms of the year-end transfer, we are asking for 2 transfers, but if you notice at the end, it's for both operations and maintenance. There is just not enough money in one of the categories to cover the deficit. So the first one would be taking $300,000 from our tuitions line, moving it to maintenance and operations, and then $70,000 from our administration, moving it also to operations and maintenance. And this is to bail out the only DESI category that ended a year in a deficit. This is the transfer motion. I will kind of stop and take any questions and bring back up the slide for you, if you have any questions.
Thank you. Jen?
I noticed when we looked at things by summary of activities, plus or minus 10,000, we got substantially less in school choice offsets than we expected. Is that because we had fewer spaces or because fewer kids wanted to come to Hamilton Wenham?
It's actually a combination of 2 things. It's fewer kids wanted to come to Hamilton Wenham. We went through our entire roster of students that applied. I think we even started calling families after that to see if they wanted to get accepted. So it was a combination of fewer students wanting to come in and more students actually going out to other school districts. So it was kind of 2 things happened.
Thank you.
Yep.
Other questions?
No, I think my trend, I just have a question about, what do you see as the general trends that we need to be thinking about going into this year, into budget season? What are you seeing in terms of inflation or costs going up and?
It's really salaries.
Salaries, yeah.
Yeah, the contracts that we've settled and are still discussing will have the biggest ramification on the next budget cycle. Yeah, we're gonna see a pretty big swing in the salary lines coming up.
Okay. I think that's just important for the public to know, because when we see these budgets, it looks like all the money is going to windows and maintenance and operations, and facilities. But I think that's an important trend that we need to pay attention to.
Yep.
Other questions? All right. David, would you like to make a motion?
Sure. The Hamilton Wenham Regional School Committee approves the FY24 operating expense budget transfers as recommended herein by the Assistant Superintendent of Finance and Administration and as presented on the previous slide entitled Year-End Transfers Requested.
Second.
Second by Jen Carr. All right, can you put it back to the
Of course, yes.
slide with the money on it? Thank you. Are there any further discussion? Okay, looks like we're ready to vote. All right, all those in favor? That is unanimous of the 6 members present, and the motion passes.
Thank you, guys. And we're going to be starting the 26th budget cycle real soon, so
Thank you, Vinny.
appreciate it. Thank you.
Can I say one thing?
Yeah.
I just want to thank Vinny publicly. Vinny has been a rock star in getting things done. As you can see, all these projects went through him to get done. As we said, we had somebody helping us out, kind of keeping an eye on things, but getting around to meeting with the custodians, checking on their equipment, even some things like annual maintenance that we assumed was occurring, that we learned that was not occurring. All of that stuff has now kind of been picked up and set in place with the work of Vinny and his team. So I appreciate that, and I wanted to thank him publicly. I think it's an important thing. He was basically running 3 jobs during the spring. He was also filling in for HR at the same time. So there was a lot going on, a lot of moving pictures. So thank you very much.
Thank you. All right. Okay, next up, committee reports. Capital Finance,
We need to sit down and set up a meeting.
okay. All right. Remind me who else is on capital?
Trent and Julia.
Julia.
Julia, okay. Policy, we had a vote earlier, so I think you guys need to make a meeting, right?
Now we have stuff to do.
So you have not met, correct?
Correct.
So do you have a chair?
No.
I thought you were the chair now.
Sure.
I don't know why I thought that.
I don't think we decided.
I guess all I was saying is
Yeah.
someone needs to take responsibility for making sure that you guys get it
Okay.
on the schedule.
I can do
That's
that.
all- That's all. So that you can, so that next time, at the next meeting, you guys will let us know when you're meeting so that you can get on the task that you've been given.
I'm on it.
Excellent. Negotiations, we are going to have an executive session at the end of this meeting, and we will give you all an update there. I'm not sure if you do. David, do you have a secretary report for us?
I didn't have time to.
Okay, all right. I will make a note of that and give you a heads up next time. Okay. To you, Eric.
Thank you. I just wanted to say this was in my 34 years, probably the smoothest school opening I've experienced. We in the past years have been struggling with getting teachers in place, getting things purchased, getting things delivered, things that we ordered in May never show up, and I think a lot of those things have been alleviated now, and I really give kudos to everybody, the staff, the faculty, came in last Monday when we had our opening ceremony. There was just a lot of good energy in the room. We had a fantastic speech by Julia Campbell to rah him in. But even getting around to the classrooms and watching all of the kind of the opening of school things, all the routine practicing and all of the, making sure kids are in the right places has been really good. I mean, we are very fortunate. As I've said in the past, our relationships with our kids and our families and our teachers are strong, and that really makes things a lot easier. And as you're opening school, things kind of fall into place much more clearly. So it was a great school opening. Very impressed with our new staff members. We've been around and about in their classrooms already, so that's exciting. And then also wanted to just let people know that on August 28th, Dana and I attended, and a bunch of other people, 90 people, attended the MSBA board meeting. And at that meeting, we were unanimously voted to move on to schematic design So that's the 4th module. So we're moving into the schematic design phase, which will last through, I believe it's December 20th. And that's an exciting part where you start to see the building come to life. You'll start to see kind of three-dimensional designs and drawings, and even now we're working with the landscape architects. What they have come up with so far has been really cool to deal with some things like traffic and deal with buses and pedestrians, and it's been really a fun and very iterative process. We're hoping by the end of November, early December, we'll be able to come out and really have a solid number for the total cost of the project versus the actual reimbursement from the state. So we'll be really tight on those numbers. So I think we'll be able to, at that point, really let the public know, like, this is what it's really going to cost. And we've been kind of floating through that through this process, and kind of like, we're not sure yet. So by the time we get to the end, that early winter spot, we'll have a good idea, and then that will lead us into the spring, going into the votes, et cetera. So exciting stuff. And then I was very excited Wednesday to take part in my annual book group. I had 14 high school students, a mix of all 4 grades. Really good conversation. We read the book, The Martian, and had some great discussion about the book, the movie, the comparatives, the situation that's going on right now with astronauts stuck in space. So it was I wish I had another hour with them. We spent an hour. And I forget exactly how many books were done. I think it was over 30 books were done. And the staff volunteers to read the book and run the group and work with the kids at the beginning of the year. And it's nice for us in administration who don't directly work with kids every day to be part of that, because it really helps us to stay connected. So kids know who we are, but also realize that we're part of that educational process. So exciting times.
Thank
You
you.
have to beat that, Dana.
What was that?
I said you have to try to beat that now.
The funny part is I don't think I'm going to say anything at all. I don't think I have anything. Anybody have any questions for Eric? No, I really actually am not. I could make something up for my chair's report, but I honestly don't think I have anything for you. And you get to listen to me talk enough already. Topic for future meetings. Okay.
Vinny has one.
I have one.
Oh, you do?
Randy
Yep.
does.
Oh,
I have to go over the student activities accounts.
okay. Does that need to be next time?
Either the next one or the one after at
Okay.
the latest, so.
Yep. Okay. Anybody else? Nope. Okay. Anybody have anything else? Otherwise, I'm going to make a motion for the, we are going to move into executive session if, that's okay. All right. I move to adjourn into executive session for purpose number 3, to discuss strategy with respect to collective bargaining with the HWREA, where an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the bargaining or litigating position of the public body and the chair so declares, and not to return to open session. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Amy Kumberger. It is a roll call vote. David?
Yes.
Brent?
Yes.
Dana's a yes?
Yes.
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 Okay. And that is unanimous of the 6 members present, and the motion passes. And we are adjourned into executive session.
Sign this one.
Oh, yeah.
It's actually 2 things. This is the design enrollment from our August 28th meeting.
Yep.
Yeah.